It began in the woods of the Hürtgen forest, November 1944. Cold rain fell through the skeletal trees. Mud, deep and heavy, clung to every boot. The 121st Infantry Battalion had been ordered to hold a ridge near Kommerscheid. The ridge was tactically worthless. It gave no commanding view, no defensive depth. But orders were orders. By dawn, the Germans began shelling. 88mm rounds screamed through the trees. Each explosion sent wood splinters faster than bullets. Communications were cut within the first hour. Field radios failed. Runners disappeared. Sergeant John Jack Collins was in charge of 2nd Platoon, Company C. He had 24 men. When the battalion commander was killed by artillery, command fell apart. Collins was not next in line. But he was the only one still able to issue orders that reached more than one squad. At 8:40, Collins heard what he thought was the sound of German armor. It was. 2 Panzer IVs moved into the valley below. Then came infantry, hundreds of them. The ridge was collapsing. Collins made a choice that, in military terms, was treason. He fabricated orders. He told the men. Division says pull back to secondary line. Move now. There were no such orders. The battalion was supposed to hold. Within 15 minutes, 180 men began withdrawing through the forest. By the time they regrouped, the ridge was gone, covered in flames and iron. Those who had stayed, those who had obeyed the official command, were dead. What Collins did saved over 200 soldiers. What Collins did should have gotten him court-martialed. To understand what happened, one must understand how the U.S. Army's command structure worked in late 1944. Orders moved through layers. Division to regiment. Regiment to battalion. Battalion to company. Company to platoon. Each layer added delay. Each layer assumed clarity. But in combat, clarity died first. The radios of 1944, SCR 300 and SCR 536, were fragile. Their range was limited to a few miles, often less in wooded terrain. The walkie-talkie could not penetrate the forest canopy when soaked with rain. Maps were imprecise. Grids overlapped. Coordinates meant nothing when trees blocked the sky, so soldiers relied on voices, gestures, and instinct. Collins' decision violated protocol, but followed logic. The Army trained NCOs to think independently, but punished them when they did. Initiative was praised in manuals, but dangerous in reality. The doctrine of the time, hold position at all costs, came from the First World War. It did not fit the mobile, mechanized killing of 1944. Collins acted outside that doctrine. His fake order was, in effect, a correction to a system that could no longer adapt. Survivors described the moment not as bravery, but as absence. Absence of fear. Absence of thought. Corporal Bennett, one of Collins' men, recalled years later, he wasn't loud. He just said it like it was fact. And when a sergeant says it's fact, you don't question it. You move. In the chaos of shellfire, authority becomes sound. Tone replaces rank. Certainty is oxygen. Neuroscience later called this combat tunnel vision. Adrenaline narrows time and perception. The human brain seeks a single focal point, a voice, a command, an action to follow. That's why fake orders can work as real ones. The structure of obedience does not depend on truth. It depends on confidence. Collins, in that hour, became the Army, and yet, he knew what he was doing. He wrote later in a letter never sent, "If I tell them the truth, they'll die. If I lie, maybe we live." So I lied. The line between deception and duty is thin in war, thin and invisible until crossed. When historians reviewed the engagement decades later, they found something remarkable. The ridge Collins abandoned had been mapped incorrectly. Its coordinates were misplaced by over 300 yards. The defensible position was, in reality, a depression vulnerable from 3 sides. The order to hold had been based on a cartographic error. War is a system of errors, hidden beneath discipline. Industrial war, like that of 1944, depended on logistics more than leadership. The U.S. Army could replace equipment, not judgment. Its power came from quantity of men, machines, ammunition. But within that machine, human decision still mattered. Collins' action demonstrated a principle later studied in military academies. The integrity of command depends not on obedience, but on adaptive disobedience, the German doctrine of Auftragstaktik. The mission-type order already allowed for this. It encouraged lower officers to reinterpret orders based on conditions. The American system, rooted in hierarchy, punished improvisation. But war erodes systems faster than they can be adjusted. In effect, Collins applied German flexibility inside an American framework. He fought the war the way it had to be fought, not the way it was written to be. When the battalion regrouped 2 days later, they were down to half strength. Collins' name appeared in no report. His orders were never traced. The Army listed the withdrawal as coordinated under adverse conditions. He received no medal, he received no reprimand. He survived the war, returned home, worked in a factory in Ohio. He never spoke publicly about what he did. Only in 1987 did a former company clerk mention the fake order in a veterans' reunion interview. By then, Collins was dead. The story emerged piecemeal, from fragments. From memories that still carried the echo of artillery. Historians still debate whether he was right. Some argue he saved lives but disobeyed a lawful command. Others say he embodied the essence of leadership, responsibility beyond regulation. There is no official answer. War rarely gives one. In every army, obedience is sacred. In every war, it kills. The story of Sergeant Collins is not about heroism. It is about the limit of systems built by men who are not there when the shells fall. In that forest, orders were words. Reality was noise, mud, and instinct. He lied to save lives, he disobeyed to preserve duty, and in that contradiction lies the truth of modern war. That survival often depends not on those who follow orders, but on those who dare to invent them.